All you have to do is say, hi, it's Rob Anspach. Welcome to Awaken Nation. Go ahead.
That's too much.
Is this how it's going to be all day?
That's how it's going to be. All right. Now pull up my sleeves. You ready?
Yeah. Go ahead. Introduce the show.
Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome to Awaken Nation with this guy, Brad Szollose.
A huge shift is taking place on planet Earth. People seem to be waking up. Tired of the way things used to be, they are creating something brand new and changing the world we live in. My name is Brad Szollose, and I get to sit down with the next generation of idea makers, the disruptors, and the game changers. Everyday people, just like you and me, from all over, who are doing amazing things. Welcome to Awakened Nation.
Hey, everybody. Rob Anspach is back, and he's more sarcastic than ever. If you don't know who Rob is, he owns Anspach Media, which has been known to help people expand their business and sales 30 to 40%. And he has testimonials for it. He's also known for the podcast E-Heroes, which I love. He has some great guests on there. And also he's well known for the Rob versus series, Rob versus the morons, Rob versus the unicorns, Rob versus, just go pick him up. His books are so damn funny because he basically, every scam call that you get, yes, Rob versus the scammers, he's holding up, every single scam call that you ignore, Rob actually picks up. And he's become so legendary at all these call centers around the world that they actually, when they find out it's him, they in unison hold up the phone to the call center group and they all yell out F you, and then he gets blocked. I love Rob's humor, his sarcasm, and especially he grew up near where I grew up. So we are Pennsylvanians. And welcome to the show, Rob. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's really good to be here. Can't you tell?
We're doing low energy, Rob, today.
It's one of those. The last 2 days have been nothing but, I don't know. It just, people are calling me up, and it's just my customers now calling. Hey, Rob, there's something wrong with the website. There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with. I'm thinking, there's nothing wrong with the website. There's nothing wrong with anything. It's you. It's the operator.
Yeah. Clear your cache.
Unplug your computer. Toss it.
Well, let's talk about this because I just got, those direct messages you get behind the wall on Messenger, Facebook Messenger, and it's the typical, I saw cryptocurrency in their bio, and I thought immediately, I usually block them, but they seem to be friends with a couple other people. And so I said,
I always block crypto, Forex.
Yeah.
Anything that has anything to do with that
Forex.
That type of world.
Yeah, crypto. Yeah. So she comes in, and it was typical. I take one of these a month, even though I probably get 30 a month. So she comes in, she goes, "Hey, how are you? I don't know you." It's like, and then I said, "Do me a favor, don't sell to me, and I'm not going to invest in any of your crypto or Bitcoin or any of that stuff." And then she comes back offended. She was like, "Well, I wasn't going to sell you anything." It's like, come on. I'm not a buffoon.
I like the ones that you get these random texts and then you respond, "I think you got the wrong number." And they're like, "Oh, aren't you so-and-so?" No, I'm not. And then they want to have a conversation with you. And then it leads to, them trying to get you to send them more money. And I'm like, who the hell are you?
Who the hell are you? I mean, is this your day job? I mean, seriously, I get those texts too, and they come in, there's like 20 people on the text line and they start selling you something. And it's like, how did you get my number and why? I mean, what? Go get a job. Get a job. Stop being a scam artist. It just drives me nuts.
And you get these random texts in your LinkedIn. And in fact, I think this one just came through today, and it says, "Hello, Rob. Hope you're doing amazing. I'm looking for people who would do great in having their own franchise business." And then I look at their profile, and there's no banner picture. They're coming out of the Philippines. They got all these wonderful jobs that they've never worked at, but they list them down as that they have. And I'm thinking, scams.
How to spot a fake profile. Yes, exactly.
You go to report them, and LinkedIn says, "Oh, they didn't violate anything."
They're all a waste. These. Yeah, I get them all the time. My favorite is when they come in and they say, "Hey, do you want to be a business author? Do you want to have your own podcast? Do you want to?" And I'm like, "Do you do any research before you start trolling people?" I swear to God, it's a 30-second Google search to realize I'm not your target.
Right.
I'm your competition.
You get some guy that's fresh out of high school and now he's a life coach.
Yeah, life coach. Thanks. Hey, go Google me. Stop. Knock it off. So,
yeah, and you get these in your inbox or LinkedIn, and they're like, "Hey, we can help you with your podcast." You look at their profile. They just started like 3 weeks ago, and your podcast is 5 years old.
Yeah,
like you can help.
I hope you can help me for $100 a month. What inspired you to write the Rob versus series? Because I look at it this way: in business or in life, you have to find a happy accident. So I'll give you a good example. I was getting postcards and mail from this one. I'm not going to mention the name, church I joined back in the 90s or whatever, late 80s, early 90s, and for years they would send me a barrage of brochures, pamphlets, come back, blah blah blah. And I mean, it would 4 or 5 pieces of mail daily. So what I started to do was I would scan their BRC code and their return address and stick it back on every piece of mail and go down to the mailbox and just shove it in the mailbox. And they had to honor the BRC to return it back to them. So they were paying double for me. And they were just livid that I did that. So you have to find a funny solution. And I think you and I have this creative bent. So tell the story. I mean, you were getting scam calls and you just said, enough.
I was getting scam calls all the time. And it was getting to the point where I would be yelling at them. I would be cursing at them. I'm like, "Don't ever call me again. Don't do," slamming the phone down. And my wife's like, "You're gonna die answering these calls because your blood pressure is gonna go up." And I thought, okay, there's got to be a better way. And so I started toying with them. And, I tried to keep them on the phone as long as I could. And I'd have a contest. Okay. Yeah, I kept them on the phone for 10 minutes, just wasting their time, asking them stupid questions. And I thought, wow, why don't I start writing this stuff down? Because it's funny to me. And I started sharing it to Facebook and LinkedIn and I'm sorry, but people on LinkedIn have no sense of humor. People on Facebook, you guys rock. But people would just laugh, and then like, "Rob, you should really assemble these into a book because this is the funny side of you that we really appreciate." So I did, and that's how Rob versus the Scammers came about. And I've told this story before, but I sent it out to a bunch of people to review, and 99% of them loved it. One person said, "But Rob, it's just a collection of stories, and it's
Is this person a friend with you to this day?"
Yeah, I mean, and then they said they didn't think it would sell, and I'm like, "Okay, that's your opinion, but you're wrong." And so I assembled it, and got a cool cover, made, and got it out there, and people were just buying it up, and they just loved it, and they're like, "Rob, write some more. This is awesome." And I mean, I have people all over the world, on this book, and this book I think is now in every Scam Central call center because they always seem to reference stuff that's in this book.
That's funny.
And so I had enough material left over that I wrote Rob versus the Morons, thinking, okay, this is the second book, and I'm just going to do 2.
Yeah.
And people are like, "Rob, are you allowed to use morons on a cover? Don't you think that'll offend people?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, it will," and it stays.
It's meant to.
And so as we're going through COVID, humanity just lost their mind. So I came out with Rob versus Humanity.
That's funny.
And I thought, okay, it's 3 books now. Let's not get carried away. And I thought I was going to stop, but I had all this material left over, and I thought, shit, I better keep going. And so Rob versus the Entitled came out.
That was funny.
You think morons triggered people? This one triggered people even more.
You're kidding.
And they just look at the cover and they're like, but Rob, you can't call us entitled.
Yes, we can.
I can call you whatever I want. It's my book. And then I came out with Rob versus the Wackadoos because people were just going bonkers. And then, a friend of ours, Manny Wolf, said he sends me a quote, and I'll have to read it to you because it is funny. It says, "It seems like you've somehow hit a mythical level where you managed to attract some of the dumbest people in the world." And that's how Rob versus the Unicorns was born. And so I sat down over the holidays, and I thought, well, I have enough material now for 2 more books. So I'm writing Rob versus book 7 and 8 concurrently, and but one will come out, I guess, March or April of 2023, and then the other one will come out towards the end of the year. And
it's hysterical.
They're designed to make people laugh with a very little bit of marketing lessons or business lessons, life lessons at the end.
Yeah.
And so it's where my other books were geared to teach somebody a certain subject and get them to, contact me. They were like, this giant sales pitch in a book, where this entertains them with very little sales pitch. And, people just love it because they can see themselves in those situations, and they'll say, darn, I wish I had the right things to say to these people just to either waste their time or piss them off. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can. You got, right now, 6 books, there's 300 stories.
What cracks me up is you quote movies in these, like obscure movies, and some of the people calling in, they catch on. Like you quote Star Wars, The Fifth Element is my favorite. Multipass, and
I've quoted Highlander.
They just don't have a sense of humor, it seems.
I've quoted Princess Bride. I've quoted all kinds. And the thing is, I have a kind of a list that I have. I'm like, okay, here's quotes that I'm going to use. And when they call me, like the one day they said that the guy's name was Barry Allen. You're the Flash, and he couldn't put 2 to 2 together. So it's like, but yeah, it's funny because these scammers use names that they pull from comics and TV shows and whatnot, and so if you pay attention to the TV shows around you, you can pick up the character element and kind of go with it.
Well, I was catching a few scammers emailing me using names of people that are in my Facebook profile. And I was like, okay. And you could spot them right away because sometimes it would be a family member. Like I got an email from my cousin, April, and it was like, hey, do you hear the good news? And then there's a link, and I'm like, okay, you got to do better than that. I love this series because, if anybody is listening and they're into business or they're into real life, sometimes you just got to take your frustration and turn it into a happy accident. It's like you're just so damn angry, you're going to do something about it. It's like when I was a kid, we had a guy who would walk his dog. We lived out on 934, at the edge of a cornfield in Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And so it's wooded, it's partially wooded, but then there's a lot of grass and there's farmers across the street. And so this guy would come out every morning and walk his dog. Right after we bought the house, he'd walk his dog. And my dad noticed this, and he'd literally walk his dog into our yard and let the dog piddle on our lawn, okay? And so then he'd walk up the road some more. So my dad gets me up the next morning at like 6 a.m. on a Saturday. I was pissed, as a kid. And he goes, come on, we're going outside. So he sets up 2 lawn chairs in our backyard, right where this guy's about to walk. And he has all his guns and ammunition out there, and he's just cleaning the guns, and he's giving me one to clean, and we're cleaning our rifles. And the guy walks by with his dog, horrified, and he's walking, and my dad goes, hey, good morning. The guy goes, good morning. The dog, he never let that dog piddle in our yard ever again.
Well,
so sometimes you got to do something.
As you were talking, I got this email, and I'm sure you get these too. And it says, Ad Agency Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, the web domain adagencypennsylvania.com is now available for sale for $700.
Ooh.
And it goes on and tells me all the advantages of why I should buy this from him. And then it says, kind regards, Gabriel. No last name, no business, no phone number. I just have to respond back to the email. And the email is a Gmail account, not even legitimate.
Right.
And so, people get these all the time.
Yeah.
And so I usually respond back, with some comment on why I can't afford $700 or, something funny along the line. And they usually just tell me to F off.
Nah, that's funny. I have a client. He is constantly sending me an email where they say, hey, we can promote your website, your book, and all this other stuff. And why is your website not so high in the rankings? And he sends it over to me. And I email him back. I go, first of all, the email name doesn't match the email signature. Okay. That's number one. Number two, there's no title. They don't give their full name ever. And number three, there's no business there. They don't have a business address. They don't tell you who they are. They don't give samples of their work. They're just emailing you. They're phishing. They're scamming and phishing. And almost always it's a Gmail account. And anybody can set up a Gmail account. So folks, if you still are falling for this stuff, look at the email first. Because I get stuff from Chase Bank. And I know it's a scam right away because I haven't had a Chase account in probably 15 years. Okay. Because where I live, we don't have Chase. Okay. So they're sending me this and it'll almost look official. I get it from Facebook too. And it's not a Facebook URL. So, you gotta watch in this day and age because,
it's so easy right now to get scammed. And even on the social networks, if some random person or even someone but you haven't communicated in a long time sends you a video to watch and it says, is this you or watch this. Don't watch it because usually you click on it and it takes you to somewhere else. Yeah.
Or someone says it's an emergency, I need money. Okay, stop. It's just
I just got a call the other day and I talk about it in my book. It's what I call the grandpa call.
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll call up and, hey, grandpa, this is your grandson. I need money. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, my grandson's only 10 years old and he doesn't sound like he smokes 2 packs of cigarettes a day. So I know it ain't you.
Grandpa. All right, buddy. It's like, look, kid, when I was your age, I had 3 jobs.
It's just
back in the 40s.
It's just wild that some of these people think that it's okay to scam people. I mean, just get a job.
Well, here's what I find interesting because you'll point out, and you'll read this in Rob's books, folks. You'll point out that they're scamming people, and they don't think they're a scammer. They think this is legitimate business. This is how business is done. Mm-hmm. And I hate to say it, but in my life, when I've come across somebody from another country, they almost always believe this is how business is done. Like they believe Jeff Bezos, in order to become a billionaire, had to kill people. This is in their mind, because in their countries, let's say Iran, Iraq, Syria, places like this, when you talk to business people, from Nigeria, even, they believe that this is how these people became multimillionaires. Like they believe Richard Branson did something nefarious to get to that level, because that's the only way in those countries. So they're working at legitimate what they call legitimate, and I'm doing air quotes, folks, legitimate businesses where they're actually trying to steal your money from you. And when you call them on it and you tell them that they're a scam, they are in such disbelief that I'm in disbelief that they don't get that. Like this, well, dude, this is how business is done. No, it's not. Sell us a real product, for God's sake.
And if you are still getting, if you can see that, emails from Nigeria saying that you won money, you ain't getting nothing.
You didn't win anything.
No, and they in order to claim it, you have to send them your driver's license, your social number, your bank accounts, and
how much is it, Rob?
$27 million. You want it?
Yeah,
I'll send it to you.
The worst is, and I hate when they do this. I'm insulted. They'll email you and you say, "Hey, I'm dying of cancer and blah blah blah, and I have this fortune I want to give away, and all this other stuff." And I've written back and just said, "Then die already." Just not being nice.
Email that I'm going to get.
Yeah, I said, "We know you don't have that kind of money. You're just playing games. Send us your address, your full name, social security number." Oh my God.
And the funny thing is that my business has, over the last few years, just grown leaps and bounds because I'm not really selling my product. I'm making them laugh first.
That's the most interesting part, I find, because, that person who said, "This will never sell," or "What the hell are you doing?" or whatever, "This is not a book." You have to ignore the naysayers, my friends, when you're an entrepreneur. Now, sometimes, you're up against the wall and you're like, "Oh, maybe that was a dumb idea." But Rob is one of the best examples of somebody who took his sense of humor and just turned it into a cash machine, literally. And people read his books, and it has nothing to do with his business. That's the funniest part. And then they turn around and they go, "Hey, I love your stuff, man. I want to talk to you about it," and then they wind up hiring you. And I find that the funniest thing of all. I just think that's amazing.
It's kind of like the soup Nazi from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
The more grumpy or arrogant he became, the more popular that people wanted to go there. And,
I think it's funny that you brought that up.
The more sarcastic I am, the more people want to throw money at me. I'm like,
"Go away. No soup for you."
And people are like, "Well, Rob, you can't treat people like that." I'm like, "Says who?"
Yeah.
It's not that I'm being a dick. Well, I can be. It's that it's called rejection marketing.
Yeah.
If you don't like me or my sense of humor or things that I say, you're never going to hire me. But if you can, kind of take a step back and say, "Oh, that's where Rob's coming from. I really like that sense of humor. We're going to be besties, and I'm going to have your back, and I'm going to help grow your business, and you're going to throw me tons of money." And that's how it works.
The reason I liked you instantly is you have the same marketing strategy as my father had for years. He owned A1 Accounting, which is in downtown Lebanon, Pennsylvania. And I remember somebody called one day, and it was near the end of the day, and they said, "I've been trying to call you all day, and you haven't picked up the phone." And he goes, "Well, you mustn't have tried very hard, because I've been sitting right here all day." And he slammed the phone down. I said, "Dad, how in the hell do you have any clients?" He goes, "People either like me or they don't. I have the same 600 clients I've had for the last 15 years. So don't tell me how to run my business, Bradley." And I'm rolling laughing. I'm just laughing. And he's like, that's how my dad was. But you have the same marketing strategy, which I love.
Yeah. We live in this world of walking on eggshells, being politically correct. And I got tired of it. I honestly, it's exhausting. I don't know what's going to trigger you. So I might as well just, go full on Rob on everybody and let the chips fall where they may, because if it triggers you, good, it's material for my books. If it doesn't trigger you, at least you're going to buy the books.
Full-blown Rob.
Full-blown Rob.
Well, you mentioned the soup Nazi on Seinfeld. People don't know that was a real dude, not the actor who played the part, but I went to the original Soup Man in New York City, and he was over there by 53rd, 54th, and like 8th or 9th Avenue. And we would walk down during lunch. And I remember the first day, a buddy of mine took me there, and Rob, it's pouring rain, and half the people don't have umbrellas, and the line is 40 feet long around the block. And I'm like, why in the hell are people standing out here for soup? And we're with a small gaggle of friends from the studio I used to work for. So we get in there, and everybody's like, okay, you got to just stand there and then move to the left. As soon as you place your order, move to the left. Don't sit there and go, what's in this? And what ingredient is that? And so it's not an indoor place. It's actually just a front, like a front with a counter. And so you walk up, you place your order, and you move to the left. And he is that way. I had a friend ask what the ingredients was, and he goes, "Get out. You're banned for life." And I'm like, oh my God. And he ran a tight ship. And so what he would do, you had to either order a pint, a quart, or a gallon, whatever you wanted. And his soup, yeah, I mean, some people would buy their whole weekend soup from him. My studio manager, CA Blackwell, God rest her soul, she would go down there on a Friday, and she would order these quart containers filled with his soups. And he had everything from lobster bisque to peanut butter, mulligatawny soup from Africa. One of my friends was a strict vegetarian, and he made squash soup, and he put pistachios in it, and she just couldn't believe it. But he would always give you a piece of challah bread, a piece of chocolate, and some sort of fruit of the day. So it was either banana, apple, or grapes. And you got that. And it was a little expensive. It was like about $8 back in the day. It probably would have been about 10, 11 now. But he gave you all this in one bag. And when we got back to the office that first day, I got the seafood bisque. I couldn't believe how much seafood was in that little cup that I got. I got the typical cup. And I had a crab claw in there, a little bit of shrimp. And I was like, and it was the kind of soup that you only get at gourmet restaurants. And I was sitting there just going, wow, holy moly, no wonder this guy is. So anyways, I'll wrap up this story, but here's the thing. He was doing such an amazing business that they started mentioning it on Seinfeld. Mm-hmm. And guess what? They had attracted the IRS. And he was running a cash business. And my accountant was his accountant, and he told me New York State went after him for sales tax. He never paid a dime in sales tax. And the only thing that saved his butt was they started to franchise him. And they put these Soup Man, places all over the place. Now, the soup wasn't as good once he went franchise, but, I think this guy was going to retire in Israel or something, because I believe he was Israeli. But he was going to retire in Israel with cash. That's all I'm saying. There's the inside scoop on the soup Nazi. So anyways, my friend, let's get back to our show and everything. Let's switch gears for a minute, because I really love your eHeroes program, really? Your podcast.
You're the one.
The one, come on, people watch it. You've had everybody on there, man. Do you want to talk about some of the guests that really surprised you, or you're amazed that you got?
Les Hewitt, who is the co-author of Power of Focus.
Right.
He's with Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. And, I just reached out. I said, hey, do you want to be on a podcast?
Yeah.
And, and he goes, yeah, in fact, I have one of your books. And I'm like, so he wrote me a testimonial for Rob versus the Morons, and he just loved it. And I'm thinking, wow, it's really cool when an author of a book that you read 20 years ago, who sold millions of copies all over the world, has already read your book.
That is incredible. Wow.
Yeah. And, it was Rob versus Humanity is what it was. I made a screenshot and I sent it out, and I use it every now and then. And
kudos.
Yeah, it was really neat. But you know, the a lot of the speakers and authors that when I started in the consulting business 20 some years ago, they were kind of my heroes. I looked up to them. I said, hey, you know, I want to be like them. I want to emulate them and have a business like them. And
Right.
they've been on my podcast. And you know, some of them have actually reached out and hired me to help them, you know, with their marketing. So, you know, when you have a book, whether it be one book or for me, I've published 36 books already. So you kind of get this authority, this credibility. Yeah. And yes, they want to hire you because they read a book.
Yeah.
It's always nicer if you're sarcastic like me, because then you can just have fun with it. And but yeah, it's really, but you know, my very first eHeroes show was with Adam Homing.
Oh yeah, Adam.
And then I brought Adam back. I forget what episode, but all we did was talk about politics.
Adam knows politics, trust me.
And so, you know, Adam's my very first one. I mean, and I tell people, I said, yeah, you want to listen to all my eHeroes ones? There's now 235. It'll be 250 soon because I've been batch recording a bunch of them. But the first 30 of them were people. A lot of them were unknowns,
right?
You know? But I had to get my name out there somehow, and I started eHeroes back in 2018. So we're going on 5 years now, and you know, but the more I put it out there, more people from everywhere are reaching out, say, hey, I heard you had a great podcast. Well, I listened to a couple of your episodes. Can I be on your podcast? Can you interview me? I'm like, no. and you know, one of the things that I like to do is I just reach out to people and I'll say, hey, you know what? I like your story. Can I interview you? Can you be on my podcast? Yeah. And the ones who say yeah without hesitation, they're on the show. The ones that say, well, can you send me questions? Can, you know, who's your audience and who's this and who's that? I'm like, screw off. That's too much information. I don't.
Yeah, it's simple.
Just like you, I don't have a list of questions.
Yeah, me neither.
I jump into the conversation wherever it goes, and you know, we just talk whatever, and people like that better.
I'm surprised that people don't do that format more often, because I had Susan Harrow on a couple of weeks ago, and she was, I'm not saying she was flabbergasted by it, but she gave me this great testimonial on video, and she basically said it was a conversation. It was back and forth, and I guess that's rare. And you have the similar style that I do, and so does Randall Kenneth Jones with the Jones Show. He does a really phenomenal job with high-end celebrities that we all grew up with. And I want to have a conversation. And I don't know if you know Chris Salem, but Chris Salem asked to be on my show. And I usually don't let friends on the show unless they have an extraordinary story. Because a lot of them
friends.
Yeah, so we're not friends. But it's along the lines of they just want to be on because they want to sell. And usually I have to vet them at that point. It's like, look, this might not be the format for you because I want you to talk about this. And so when Chris came on the show,
honestly, we're not selling any of these books.
Not at all.
We're just talking about them.
I love the covers. That's what I love.
And the thing is they have to get more ridiculous as the books.
I love your covers, by the way. They're funny as hell. But Chris asked to be on my show. He was the first person to ask to be on my show. That was a friend of mine that I worked with. You know, we did some speeches together in Arizona. And he goes, hey, I really want to be on your show. And I said, well, the only way you're going to get on my show is if you want to talk about your alcoholism, because we go into the failure zone. We go into how we all screw up and then find success. He goes, sure, I'd love to talk about my alcoholism. It's the cornerstone of my story, but also my sex addiction, my anger management. And he just went through a list, and I went, oh yeah. And I admired him even more. And he said, you know, his foundation that he put together, all this was based on, you know, him screwing up in life. And I find those conversations better. I mean,
Right.
I find them more realistic. So
Yeah, I don't do any of that. So I'm
no, you do a pretty
well,
deep dive. People
and the thing is,
share.
I had anger management issues, but
You
you
no,
know, I did. I went to a counselor once. I
and
couldn't
then you beat
stand
him
him.
up.
Yeah, it had no sense of humor. But the thing is that I think that I've become less angry because I get to take my aggression out on the scammers, and then they become part of my book,
Yeah,
become part of the legacy of Rob. And
it's a creative outlet.
yeah,
That's what it is. Yeah,
it's allowed me to be me without paying a therapist hundreds of dollars an hour.
that's all it takes, folks. Find a creative outlet for your anger.
That's
And
right.
man, do we live in a day and age where everybody's angry.
I'm getting paid to entertain people, you know. So it's like
That's
that's a
the best
plus.
part.
Yeah. So it's
The best.
you know, and the funny thing is that you know, in between writing these books, I will binge watch lots of TV, and my favorite is Monk because it's just full on. He's got all these issues, and it's just funny. And or I'll watch Stargate because
Yeah.
you know there's and we've talked about this
I
before.
love Stargate. Yeah.
There's archaeology, there's sarcasm, there's stories, there's just
Yeah.
sci-fi. It's just cool.
And
And
Tilk is the straight man through all of
indeed,
it.
indeed,
MacGyver in space.
yeah. And you know, it's even Stargate Atlantis. If anybody
Yeah, I
ever
like
watches
that
it,
too.
Rodney McKay is you know this geeky scientist, but his deadpan humor is just right on. And
Yeah.
you know, I think that's what makes that show. Yeah, you got this action figure who is you know John can't think of his last name.
Wick, kind of.
John Wick, yeah. But um you know, a macho guy. He's you know military and he's shooting people, and it's just
Yeah.
he's trying to replace the Jack O'Neill type character, and but then you got this geeky scientist who's learning to do all this stuff, and that's me. I mean, that's
Yeah.
I think that's what makes it funny.
I love that. You know, when you discover something that works. And I think Hollywood these days, they're so paranoid about releasing something brand new that
Right.
they just regurgitate the same stuff over and over and hope
Well, you know,
that it sticks.
and you know, I got approached to turn the Rob versus books into a future TV show. And we even sat down and we wrote the script for a pilot episode. And I, you know, I'm geeking out over this because I'm thinking, wow, you know, Hollywood and this and this and
Right.
I'm going to be famous. And then the guy goes, well, realistically, it takes 2 to 3 years before a pilot becomes a show. And I'm thinking, good God, I could be dead by then.
Yeah. Well,
You know, so it's like, so, you know, I'm just pushing out more books and making people laugh. And if the pilot episode becomes something, great. If it doesn't, we move on. And that's
Yep.
life.
That's life.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like it was 30 years ago.
No, and the problem with streaming versus, you know, terrestrial TV, which is ABC, NBC, CBS, is that the studios now have a limited budget and they're trying to produce so much quantity for so little money. And they're seeing which, you know, it's kind of like throwing spaghetti on a wall, see what sticks. And if
Yeah.
it sticks, then they'll make more episodes. But we've in our day, there was a dozen or so good programs out there.
Yeah.
And so studios had more budget. Now there's thousands of them.
Oh, yeah.
And people's attention span is down to 8.9 seconds. So you really have to get a show that's gonna, you know, get a lot of people wanting to watch it.
You mean, so do the opposite of what Netflix has been doing.
Yeah, and that's why I tell my my production consultant guy, and it's like, I think I'd rather be on terrestrial TV where it forces them every week to show up and watch a new episode than to jump on streaming
Yeah.
and binge watch everything in 10 hours.
Well, this is a business model analysis, and those of you who are listening, you're like, where are they going with this? The reality is you remember when Matlock was on and She Wrote and all this? That was exclusively watched mostly by our grandparents, people who were elderly, and they would actually gather in the common area at these retirement homes to watch Matlock and Murder, She Wrote, and they were all on together. So there is a niche audience right there. And so the product placement, because commercial television only exists to provide an audience to sell products. And so those commercials, they had the perfect place to present. Mm-hmm. And I think they've lost sight of the fact that there are people who at 9:00 at night on a Thursday want to just sit down and watch a nice show. Mm-hmm. And they've forgotten that. And so I've watched how Netflix has made one huge mistake after another. So we started getting into the TV show The Tick, which was on Netflix. I have a friend who was on that show. And so I was like, oh man, I got to watch this because, that's all he talks about. That was his big breakout role. Mm-hmm. And so The Tick was so darn good. My girlfriend and I, we binge watch it, 2 or 3 episodes. We'd be having dinner. It was like, you want to watch one more? Okay, let's watch one more. And then they cancel. They seem to have canceled it. They're not doing any more episodes. And you're like, but that was successful. And people were writing in. The other one that I liked was Mind Hunters, which was how the FBI, it was based on the historical facts of how the FBI started to create their own investigative standards to go after crazy criminals, real criminals. And then, so they have Son of Sam in there, and then they have this other notorious killer, and the people playing them, the actors who played them, they really worked hard on getting down the nuances of the actual person from history. And it was creepy and eerie. And it was just so filled with science, psychology, and then listening to these guys brag about their murders. And this is how they really did it. That was popular. They canceled it. Mm-hmm. And then they lost Star Trek and Star Wars, all this. So now everything is woke on there. And I don't mind a few characters that, are different or weird or whatever. But when they're all lined up that way and they're pushing it on you, and all of a sudden you're sitting there going, okay, Netflix, you figure it out, man. You were the first to do this. Right. Figure it out, because Amazon Prime is nailing it. Yeah.
It's like Hallmark, they have 17 actors that are in 200 movies and they're all themed the same.
And a dog. Every story has a dog.
And now Netflix has taken that same formula and they, okay, now it's in space. Now it's over in a cornfield. Now it's over here. Now it's, it's the same stuff.
They don't know what to do.
After a while, you're watching this going, okay, I know what they're going to do. I know what they're going to say. I know how they're going to act. I know that it's going to be a shootout. The guy's going to get stabbed in behind
formula
alley. It's just same crap. I'm like, stop.
It's formulaic, yes.
And I think the reason why, whether my books or other people's books that are different, they stand out, is because they interrupt your pattern, and so you're used to all this stuff, and then you start reading this going, man, that's funny. I didn't expect that, and so that's.
Well, I think that's why Top Gun Maverick, when it came out, it interrupted the pattern of all these movies that were trying to make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy. Right. This is what marketing is. Marketing is figuring out the person who's going to buy your product and writing or doing or creating content that aligns with what they believe in or who they are. And Disney even screwed this up. They're all trying to make everybody happy, and you can't do that. You have to pick your lane and stick to it.
The Thor 4, the Goats and Thunder, that was a horrible movie. It was called Love and Thunder, but the only thing promising about the whole movie was the goats. And I just gave it away to everybody. But I renamed it Goats and Thunder because honestly, they could have done so much better with that movie.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to put the movement down, but they're trying to be woke. I get that. So to create woke characters and have their movies made, I mean, create film studios for LGBTQ and trans, which already has been done. Push it, do it, go for it. I mean, I'm all for it, but right now, in order to make everybody happy, they're putting in bad dialogue, bad all kinds of stuff, just throwing it in, and it's like a bouillabaisse with stuff in it that doesn't belong in it. Because as you know, marketing has to be laser beam focus, not shotgun anymore. No. And so this is why Hollywood is failing in some areas and why it's failing, on streaming platforms. A lot of people started boycotting Disney just simply because Disney wasn't really respecting their audience, which is families.
Right. And then their stock tanked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the voice of the people will come back and haunt you if you don't, entertain them a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. It's marketing 101. I mean, if you've studied Dan Kennedy or Rob Anspach, you know that marketing has to align with your audience. And I get this with clients too. You probably get it as well. You show them the direction they should be going in, and they argue with you because it's outside of their belief of who they are and what they're marketing. And
or they'll say, we've done it this way, for so long, we'll continue to do it this way. Yeah, but that way doesn't work. Try it this way. Oh, no, we can't do it. Our accountant says no, our lawyer says no. Stop listening and just, so, you have this back and forth fighting with them. And after a while, it's like, okay, I'm not fighting with you. You either do it my way or you're going in my book.
I usually say, and your degree is in what? And your 40 years of experience is in what? Not marketing. Oh, okay. So you might want to listen to me. Even I know it's hard to believe, but even I make a mistake here and there. What? No. Say it isn't so, Rob.
I resisted TikTok for so long. I refused to do it. And I even made, when people would come to me and say, Rob, why aren't you on TikTok? I would, because I'm not pointing, I'm not dancing, I'm not doing any of that garbage. No, can't. And I realized that maybe I was wrong. I know it's hard to believe, but so I advised some of my clients to get on TikTok, and oh my God, they exploded.
Yeah, Jocelyn Stewart, messy military lawyer,
almost 50,000 followers now.
Messy military lawyer. Yeah, I gotta get my Awakened Nation one off the ground too. People have been interested in my videos, but I do the audiograms, but now I got to do some videos, of my guests, and some of my guests are kind of high profile, so we got to do it.
You kind of sometimes you have to go where your target audience is, and your audience will always let you know. So maybe because I'm old school and I like YouTube, and YouTube's been around, that's where I put my videos.
Right.
But people that are younger than me that maybe service other clients that are younger than them, go to TikTok, because that's where your audience is going to grow.
Yeah. What is the demographic for TikTok? It's like 35 to 40. Am I correct? Or is it 28 to 35?
3 to 7.
3 to 7.
I love Rob Anspach. Mommy.
You do these one-on-one.
I got one to the other day. I made a video posted on TikTok. It was all about why you should raise your prices, and the cheaper the client, the more hassles involved. And one guy calls out and he goes, Rob, I call BS. You're just leaving BS information. So I had to make a response video, and here I look at the guy's profile, and
you're a very bad man, Rob Anspach. A very bad man.
His name is user, and then like 12 digits behind him, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's credible. Oh yeah. All
the trolls out there who don't have a proper profile, and then they respond, and they're they're vitriolic in their response. They feel safe. That's why they do it that way, because it's nothing's going to happen to them.
Well, and the problem with feeling safe is that not only do they feel safe, they feel confident. So then they go on to YouTube, they go on to all these review sites, and they start giving negative attack reviews. And all it does is hurts the reputation of the credible people that are actually trying to, educate others.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I cannot stand, is all these review sites that don't have any type of way to verify the information that's being posted.
It drives me up a wall.
So then I spent half my life trying to send, articles and letters and whatnot to try to get these negative reviews down. And Google is a pain, because they'll always say, that doesn't violate our standards, so we're going to leave it stay.
Well, usually it's a robot, and then you have to get to a person and all this. I literally had, when I first launched my podcast, within days, somebody had put up there on Facebook a review, and basically, this guy's a douchebag. It's like, how could you even say that when you see the list of the people that I interview? And we went into deep dives into depression and, how to overcome, falling off a cliff and almost dying. It was deep stuff. So most of these people who leave a response, for those of you who might get upset at the critics out there, it's water off your back, because these people just don't like you. It has nothing to do with your product, has nothing to do with what you're creating. They woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and they just don't like you personally. I got a 1 star, 1 star, but no review immediately after I blocked somebody on Facebook, because they were from my hometown, and they just started laying into me like I'm some sort of callous billionaire who doesn't care about anybody. And I was just like rolling laughing. I told them off. I made fun of them so badly and burned them. They had to block me. And immediately after that, I got a 1 star on my podcast. It's like, okay, all right.
Well, speaking of billionaires, because I know that you're Batman on your spare time, but
yes,
Elon Musk, everybody's making fun of him for losing $200 million. And I'm thinking, yes, but he still has hundreds of millions left.
I love when people comment about Elon Musk, who literally have never owned a business, never held that kind of money in their hands, have never done anything extraordinary with their lives except, do something when they were 18, back in high school, and they're still bragging about it. And they're sitting there complaining about Elon Musk. And then the other thing that was extraordinary to me, I used to be a C-level executive, so I'm watching everything that Elon Musk is doing, and I'm going, this is brilliant. He's cutting the fat. He's doing all the right moves. And me watching every business publication complain about what he's doing. And I'm like, Forbes, Business Insider, all of them, they're complaining. And I'm like, but this is what any executive would have done if they have bought a gilded turd like Twitter. And it was a gilded turd. They ran it like a frat house. What's her name get? She was getting 17 million a year. Some of it was stock options, but you don't give, it was run like a frat house. What do you want to get paid? I'd like a gazillion dollars. Okay, you got it. We're going to give you a gazillion dollars. There were people at Twitter who would show up for 4 hours to do their job, and they were getting $120,000 a year, 4 hours a week, and getting paid $120,000 a year. These people were not fiscally responsible to the shareholders. When you are losing $2 million a day and you're paying people like this and you're providing free lunch and everybody can do whatever they want and there's no rules, we're just going to have fun. That is not a business, okay? And somewhere along the line, we lost our friggin' minds with these unicorn valuations on these companies that are they're wasting money, okay? We still have to make a product at the end of the day. We still have to provide value and content and an audience. And it drove me nuts over the last 3 months watching every business publication bitch, piss, and moan about Elon Musk when he was actually doing all the right moves.
Right. Oh, and then and I'm now going to go into the triggered session of this.
This will be our triggered session. Warning.
We're going to talk about Trump and his taxes.
Yeah.
You know, I laugh because here I am as an entrepreneur wanting not to pay taxes.
Right.
And here is the man who figured out, hey, I'm paying all these people, all these great accountants, a way to figure out how I cannot pay taxes. And then you got these buffoons going, yeah, but I only make $50,000 a year and I've paid more taxes than him. Do you employ people? Do you have all this?
Right.
I mean,
Everybody's
on and on, but it's like,
do you know, people don't. This happened in the New York Post. I remember they were complaining one day about this, slumlord. It wasn't paying his taxes and blah. And they listed everything. And I'm sitting there going, does anybody over there know the tax code? These are all write-offs. And if you didn't take these write-offs, you wouldn't be able to have people owning buildings or doing anything or have a free market where entrepreneurs could actually do something. Okay. These people, I mean, they just comment to get a rouse out of people. Right. They don't bother to look at it. You know, the big nothing burger was Trump's taxes. It was the biggest nothing burger ever. They've been complaining. They wanted it. Here it is. It's as bad as Geraldo Rivera opened Al Capone's vault. We waited for an hour. They did the history of it all. And then in the last 5 minutes, they finally opened it and it was empty. Yeah. And that was the exact same thing that happened when Rachel Maddow did Trump's tax returns 2-3 years ago. She goes, we have them. And then it was like an hour of painful television because there was nothing. There was nothing to go after. He paid all his taxes. Yeah, it was like, you know, and people really drives me nuts.
These are the stories that trigger people. And the thing is that I've taken those same stories, the same situation. Well, not to say I don't talk to Trump on the phone. I don't talk to Elon Musk. That would be
hello,
cool.
Rob.
But
what you're doing is tremendous.
I do take my triggering, frustrating moments and put them in these books and to teach people. You know, and I'm hoping that when they read them, they're like, wow, this is funny. But they realize that they could be that person I was talking, about.
That's funny.
Live life a little better. Don't. For me, at the very beginning, I told you, I would throw down the phone, I would get angry, I would yell, I would scream, and my blood pressure was probably gonna, kill me. I learned to channel it in a different way.
Yeah,
and
that's what you got to do.
We're living in this world where everybody gets triggered about something, and social media gave people voices, and I think they gave voices to people that should never have the ability to talk.
Yeah.
But you post something and now automatically they think they have to comment on it.
Yeah.
And it's their thoughts aren't laid out. They're not thinking straight.
They're just reacting.
They're just reacting. So then you delete it because if I don't delete it, I know that everybody else is going to go attack someone. And so I delete it, and they send me a chat and they say, Rob, why did you delete my message? You have no right to do that. Blah, blah, blah. Oh my God, stop being triggered.
Stop being a child. Yeah. I had somebody comment the other day. I had an old picture from several years ago where a friend had called me up. He owns a jet company and he had landed in Vegas and he was about to fly back to Arizona empty. And I had to go to Arizona as well, and to an event that his wife was putting on. And he said, hey, you want to ride? I said, hell yeah. And so I flew private jet and enjoyed it. And when I landed, I got off and I went to take a selfie. And I was getting perturbed because it was hot. My camera wasn't working properly. And so I'm making this face where I'm just like, ugh. And so I posted that the other day, and it basically said, when I get off a private jet flight, I find it, ostentatious or whatever. I find it better to just have an attitude, like I'm miserable. And everybody got a laugh out of it because I do. I look miserable in the photo, and I'm getting off a jet. And most people get off a jet and they're like, "Hey, look at me." And I'm like, I don't give a damn. I'm just mad. Get my bags. I want to get the hell out of the heat because I was in a suit. And so everybody got the joke and they were laughing, but somebody came in and accused me very subtly, trying to be ha about it. That I don't care about climate change. I was, which bothers you more, that it was hot out or that you were seeding, the clouds or whatever. And I realized this person has friended in with me and has never, ever commented once. Mm-hmm. So I came up with something to talk about. And then I just said, nah, I blocked him. I'm tired of it. If you're going to make snarky comments like that, I mean, just don't bother. I'm going to block you. I don't care if we've been friends for years.
I saw, there was a realtor that I follow, and she had posted that, she had big changes over the last few years, and she lost weight, and the picture from like 20 years ago was all blurry. Picture from current was, very crisp and clean, and I mentioned about, the blurry photo. I tried to make a joke out of it. She went ballistic.
There you
go.
Yeah.
God, it was funny.
How did these people get through high school? That's all I have to know.
I think there needs to be a safe space on social media somewhere where they can just go there and everything is written in crayon. Makes them feel nice.
Yeah. Grow up, folks. Hey, I wanted, with the time we have left, we don't have much time.
We have 3 hours.
Okay. You and your wife, I always laugh at this because you're in sync with each other. You were talking the other day about how you went to take a photo of, one of your kids and your wife, and I guess your daughter held up the peace sign and your wife held up partial peace sign. Yeah. The middle finger.
Her peace sign was broken.
Yeah. And I was just like, these two are made for each other. Oh my God. It's so.
And next month it'll be 34 years.
God bless. That's amazing, man. Good for you.
A lot of my friends said that murderers get less time. So
yeah. But you guys do something that I love. You keep going to Disney World, right?
We do. We pay homage, and it used to be every 5 years. We started that in 2000, and then about 2015, we started going every year.
Nice.
And sometimes twice a year. Although COVID screwed that up, the 1 year we couldn't go. But we take the kids, we take the grandkids. Back in last year, we went by ourselves without the kids, and it was so nice. We on every ride. We didn't have to use that new Genie Plus thing where we just put our phones in our pocket and have a conversation, walked around, and it was nice. We got to listen to other parents complain about their kids for once.
Isn't this wonderful, honey?
Yeah, and the kids were just, I want to be
you found your Zen moment.
Yeah, it was nice, and so we're planning our next trip, and a friend of mine who is down there has invited us to Club 33, which I guess he's a member.
Yes,
that's Disney's exclusive club for people with money.
Yes,
and so that'd be nice. I mean, it'd be pretty cool. But every time we go down there, we do something different. We try to do something different. We did a private VIP tour around Magic Kingdom where they point out all the different cool stuff and they fast track you on a couple rides and do behind the scenes stuff. And it was just and then a couple of years we've done other things that were pretty unique. So we try to make each trip different.
Nice.
But there's so much to do down there.
Oh God, yeah. You could do Epcot Center, and then you can go over to the original Disney World. And
we went to Epcot for the first time last year. I think the last time we were there was 10 years ago. And but we always go to Magic Kingdom. We always go to Animal Kingdom. Hollywood Studios only sometimes.
Yeah.
I do like Star Wars. In fact, I'm wearing a Star Wars shirt. And I like their Star Wars rides, but it's the Hollywood Studios Park is one of their smallest ones, and the lines are forever long.
You got to hang out with Tom Newmaster. He's down there too in Lancaster with Force Packaging. Him and his wife, they go to down to Disney World all the time and go to the Star Wars exhibit as well. He got his lightsaber made there and everything. They do a custom lightsaber for him. Yep.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. I like them. I like lightsabers. I don't want to spend the money that they want us to, shell out. Because if I'm going to spend that kind of money, I want it to work. I want it to be real.
I want it to be real.
Yeah.
You have failed me for the last time.
Or the first time.
Oh, Rob is funny. Get his books.
Yeah.
So how do people go ahead?
Well, do you want me to tell them how to get my books?
How do we get your books, Rob?
Well, you can go to getrobsbooks.com. I know.
Nice.
The easiest way, or you can go to anspachmedia.com, but nobody knows how to spell Anspach. So getrobsbooks.com takes you right to Amazon, where you can look at not only the Rob Versus books, but you can look at some
other books that he's published.
Back there, and there's some good ones. I mean, you got
Rob has an amazing amount of books that are also for the marketing guru that you have untapped within you. He'll show you how to reach your audience, raise your Google ranks, things like that. He's also written books for his clients as well. And, the most, you have a couple that are really, really popular. The Business Dojo one, I see the most. After the Rob Versus.
The funny thing is that the lessons from the dojo, I published in 2015, and I was going to launch it. I picked the date. It was going to be in October, and my wife's like, "You can't launch your book then. We're going to be in Italy." I'm like, "I can't change it now. It's happening.
I do what I want."
So the book had that kind of a snowball effect. It didn't really do well the first year it was out.
Yeah.
But 8 years later, now it's people are buying it. They like it. And so not every book that you write is going to be a bestseller right off the bat. Yeah. Luckily most of mine have. But I get the one or two that isn't, but that one is slowly getting its own,
It's the second most popular book I see outside of your Rob Versus series.
And then the very first one was called Share, and it was all about it's basically the easiest social media book you'll ever read. It's 120 pages, tells you how to work social media, how to work Facebook and LinkedIn and but it was before TikTok. So I mean that was written in 2013, so it's going on 10 years.
Wow.
Optimize This, which was all about search engine optimization, came out in 2014. And that one, I partnered with Paul Douglas up in Winnipeg. And, he had his idea, I had mine. We came together. And from concept to creation to #1 bestseller in 4 countries took 60 days.
You're kidding. That's amazing.
Days, yeah. And then
that's kind of when you're both passionate about what you're doing and you're onto something big.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The first book, Share, I sold a lot of books. And it was that book that, prompted me to start my own publishing company because, I sent it out and people, these publishers were like, "No, we want something that's a little thicker, a little hardier, that was more complicated, that gave people more meat and potatoes."
Put some charts in there.
But this is simple.
Yeah.
I didn't want simple. So I took the book and created my own publishing company, sold like 2,000 books right away. And after then optimized this and I can't say I became a household name, but at least people knew who I was and were more willing to, pay me money.
Well, you're well known in India, my friend.
I know.
But not as Rob Anspach. You're known as another name.
Yeah.
Mr. Stanton or whatever.
Mr. Stafford.
Stafford.
Mr.
Stafford.
Me with and they've confused me with his wife Annie. So every time is this Annie? Yeah, it's short for Anakin. What? Yeah, Anakin.
This
Skywalker.
Is Steve. I am looking for Mr. Stafford. Yeah.
And then I came out with after Optimize This, it was Lessons from the Dojo, and then I wrote a couple books for a weight loss doctor in Mexico, and I helped a lawyer with his personal injury books, and then I co-authored Power Guesting, which was all about podcasting.
Yep.
And then No Experience Necessary, which was another social media book, but it was more geared to the boomers, Gen Xers. And then I helped my buddy with his copywriting book, which is now, we put that out in 2017, and it's now listed as like the number 8 best copywriting book out of top 100.
Wow.
Of all time. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I suggest you hire Rob because he has helped numerous professionals increase their business, help them write books, help them get out there into the marketplace. And I admire the work you do, my friend. You do it well. And you have the second best head of hair I've seen in this business.
It doesn't cooperate sometimes, but that's okay. I mean,
just put a hat on it, take a nap.
Yeah, usually I do.
Helps.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy I have a head of hair. My grandfather was completely bald at 40, so I'm happy.
You're happy. That just makes you happy. So hair.
Happy.
Have a great hair day.
Now I can't. I can barely grow a beard, so that's c'est la vie.
I know.
C'est la vie. Well, thank you, Rob. Don't forget, folks, reach out to Rob Anspach, Anspach Media. Buy his books. They're funny as hell. I've endorsed a few because I'm laughing. And I will start reading and I go, I'm just going to read 3 chapters before I go to bed. And I realize I'm on page 75. I'm like, he got me again.
And if you do see this or hear this somewhere, throw me a broken peace sign.
Also reach out and watch Rob's E-Heroes series. He's had some phenomenal guests on there. You've had a few friends of mine on there, including Adam Homey, which was number 1, and David Brown.
Yeah. And you've been on twice.
Yes. We got to do another show.
And the last one was is basically as long as this one. It was over an hour.
Wow. We did Christopher Walken, but got cut out. Boom. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, tune in next week for a phenomenal episode of Awakened Nation. We have some great guests here in season 5, including Rob, and you're just gonna, you're gonna love it. And I hope you follow me on, get the what is it, the RSS feed.
The RSS feed.
Get the RSS feed and subscribe. I'm on everything from Apple to Rumble to YouTube to Spotify. So take care, everybody. Have a great one. And Rob, thank you so much for being on the show once again.
Adios.
Thank you so much for being a big part of the Awakened Nation movement. This is how you can help me and our extraordinary guests. If you guys enjoyed this episode, please share it out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And let's grow this movement by word of mouth. Our success will be because of you. Thank you, and see you next week.